Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and it is time for the full review of this prototype. This is the Divo Knives Buzz. I'll have to apologize, I'm like filthy. I don't know if you can see all the dirt on my arms and stuff, but I need to get this shipped out today. And this morning I was literally moving a huge mound of dirt, a 5-gallon bucket at a time, across my yard and into the truck bed. So it was like 200 gallons of dirt or something stupid like that. Anyways, I'm filthy and sweaty and gross, so you'll have to forgive me for that. But this is a prototype, and it's going to be going to some other people to check out. So I'm getting it filmed. We're getting it done. I've had this in my possession for just over a week, and that's as long as I'm supposed to have it. So it's on its way. Anyways, this came at a really opportune time because Kevin left EDC, one of the two behind Divo Knives, said I could borrow it, and it was like right as the stouts were shipping. So I just got like 3 days ago, my stouts, which is really fun. I ordered 2 of these, and I've been really excited for this knife. I'm especially excited about this murdered out version with the copper carbon fiber. Really cool. So just as their first knife that I pre-ordered landed to me, I'm getting to check out a prototype of their of a subsequent knife. They also have the growler coming soon too. But anyway, this one is really cool. So this one was produced, I believe, also by Best Tech. Let me make sure that is correct. Yep, Best Tech. The prototypes are an M390. Production is going to be 20 CV. That's the plan. It's a tie liner inside of tie scales, and it does have a lock bar insert with a steel insert chip, if you want to call it that. And then I have a list of a couple of changes that may happen, some of which are definitely going to happen. Some are kind of maybes for production. But I'm going to talk about the knife as it sits here so that I'm being fair, because I can't say what those changes are going to feel like if I haven't felt them. Although most of the changes are pretty minor. This is a really good representation of what the knife is going to be. So this one in particular, I think Kev is calling the reverse tux. There's going to be a couple of different variations in terms of colorways and stuff, but as far as I know, they're all going to be titanium scales over titanium liners. They're all going to have this same blade shape and profile and grind. Which on the prototypes, the one that they got with a satin blade didn't have a hollow this thin, so they're having those done this thin in production. That's one of the notable changes from that prototype, but this is the one they're trying to have them produced like. So really, really cool. All right, so I'm just gonna kind of jump into carry, cutting, action, ergos, all of my typical things that I talk about. Before I do that, I'll reiterate how much I've used this knife, because some people prefer to know that. This has been almost exclusively the only knife that I've carried since it's been here, since I knew I'd only have a week with it. So it's been in my pocket every day for over a week now. I've used it for everything that I use a primary knife for. In fact, I didn't have like specific reasons to do a couple of things with it, but I made myself do them anyways yesterday, just as a testing method. So it has been through quite a bit of cardboard. It's been through some paper. It's gone through tape on top of packages, stuff like that, opening boxes and then processing the boxes for the recycling bin. It's been through an apple. It's been through a couple of zip ties. Those were the things I made it do, even though I hadn't had a reason to do it over the last week for some reason. It's been through some internal packaging things, like little rubber bands that hold kids' toys down, stuff like that. It's cut tags off of clothes, all of my pretty typical stuff. Nothing insane. I didn't baton through wood with it. I didn't shave any like wood shavings with it or anything like that. But I did all of my like most typical everyday carry stuff without getting outdoorsy with it, if that makes sense. So it's done really well for me. I've liked it, and we'll talk more about that as I go through categorically, but that's the extent of what I've used it for in the time that I've had it. All right, so I guess I'll talk about any changes at the end. The changes that he wrote out for me, I think, are less of a big deal than I thought they were going to be when I read through them. The knife is basically going to stay a lot like this. So let's start with ergos, because I really like the ergos on this knife. You can see the handle profile is really fairly simple. We've got a very like not overly shaped or grooved or contoured profile going on here. And then we've got a finger choil up here that's partially handle, partially blade. And between the forward finger choil and this nice neutral space back here, it's just a super comfortable knife. Even if I'm holding it without the forward finger choil, I do get all 4 fingers on here, but I find myself almost always using this forward choil. It's very comfortable with the forward choil, and because of how neutral the grip is, it just feels simple to hold on to. It's not forcing my hand in any kind of weird grip. You do have this little bit of a kind of dish scallop thing cut out here. I feel that on the knife, but I don't feel like it's really adding or subtracting to the ergos for me personally. That said, I think it looks really cool, so it doesn't bother me at all that it's there. I'd prefer to have it there. It just, ergonomically, I think it's worth noting that I don't really notice a big difference because of that cut there. So yeah, in a saber grip, hammer grip without the choil, both are comfortable. Saber grip, hammer grip with the choil, both are comfortable. Draw cut, very comfortable. I guess you could draw cut all the way up to the choil and that works, but I'd prefer to stay back here. Reverse grip, very comfortable. Reverse grip draw cut, very comfortable. So because this handle's on the neutral side of things, it's really comfortable no matter what grip orientation I put it in, and I like that. So yeah, ergos are very nice. Let's talk action, I guess. You have 2 major deployment methods here on this knife. I guess really 3 methods to, I don't know. There's a hole and there's a top slash front flipper type of thing going on. If you know me, you know I prefer holes over studs. I like holes on knives because I like to middle finger flick. That's my favorite way to open a knife. And this particular prototype, I haven't felt the other. This one is incredibly well tuned for middle finger flicking. Any part of the hole that I engage with, it's crisp, poppy, easy. The detent is like almost a little on the stiff side in a good way for middle finger flicking. It's not too stiff. I'm not like fighting against it too much, but it's a lot of pop that I'm getting. That said, with the front flipper, because it's a little on the stiffer end, this front flipper can be a little tougher to engage than some others that I've had. But if you grab right at the top, pull over, I haven't had problems with it. And frankly, to me, that's just kind of a bonus deployment method since it has the hole and I'm middle finger flicking it all the time anyways. I have to kind of remind myself to front flip it every now and then. Because it has a hole, you can, of course, also thumb flick it open. So that's nice. If you're someone who prefers thumb flicking to middle finger flicking, that's an option. But yeah, so it's a very fun knife to deploy. And then also on closure, once you're past the detent, it's pretty freaking smooth. It runs on bearings. It's a liner lock, so there's not a ton of lock bar like pressure in there. It's really nice and it's smooth. It's just for like a knife to fidget with, this being the only knife that's typically mated in pocket this week, at least as a primary. Sometimes I carry a secondary too, but I've played with it a lot and it hasn't really gotten boring. Some knives get boring pretty quick. This one hasn't. It's fun to just fidget with. Okay, so we've talked ergos and action. Let's talk carry. On this, we have a deep carry style wire pocket clip. Comes almost all the way to the butt end of the knife, so it carries nice and deep. I love wire pocket clips. They're my personal favorite if I had to pick one and just carry and use, because they just function so well. They're pretty inexpensive and easy to replace if something goes wrong with it. If you bump into something with it, it typically doesn't like cut into whatever you bump into. They just bounce off of things. They look unintimidating from the outside of your pants. It's just, I like these pocket clips. And here it's done really well. He did put a note in some of the changes. Apparently the clip spacing is a little bit wide. So the way that they put these notches is what I'm assuming. So they're gonna just tighten that in just a tiny bit to make it more standard like other wire clips, so that aftermarket replacements and stuff will fit. But from like a use standpoint of me just using this knife the way it came, I loved it. And it's not gonna make a difference to the end user if you're keeping this clip on it based on the change they're making, the way I understand it. So the knife carries really well. As you can tell just looking at this thing, it's very smooth everywhere. So in and out of pocket, it's not snaggy at all. It's very smooth. Everything just goes in pretty fluidly. That's what she said. And it's a little on the heavy side. That's another change they're talking about making. They'd like to see if they can relieve any additional weight out of here, but it is internally milled pretty extensively. So I'd be curious to see how much weight they can remove if they do that. It's not like a heavy knife. It just feels a little heavier than some other stuff I'm used to in this specific size range. Especially like I carry the Avant all the time, and that knife is, we made it to be super light. So this being titanium is heavier, although there's titanium Avants coming. Keep an eye out on the left page. I should say AVNT's coming. Additionally, we've changed the name from Avant to AVNT. Anyway, this isn't about that knife. So it's a little on the heavy side, but it's incredibly smooth. The pocket clip placement is very good, and it's a great pocket clip. So in pocket, it's just really comfortable. Like even when I'm doing, like today, freaking moving a whole bunch of dirt, that was like a labor-intensive process, and I was moving around in ways that I'm not on a typical day, and this knife was in pocket the whole time. It never bothered me once. It's not like I was using this to shovel the dirt, but it was in pocket the whole time I was doing that work, and it carries great, from things like that to carrying it to church, or carrying it just around town, or having it in my pocket when I'm playing Call of Duty on the couch. Like, it's a convenient knife to carry, so I like that about it. That leaves us with cutting. So yeah, like I said, I've done my pretty typical cutting tasks with this knife, and it has certainly not been a slouch at any of them. We've got a hollow grind that comes up pretty tall on the blade. It's nice and thin behind the edge. I haven't measured it, but I would guess it's probably, I don't know, 13, 14, 15 thousandths, maybe a little thicker than that, 15, 16, something like that, the way this one is ground. And it's, the edge that came on it is very nice. I haven't had any signs of edge damage in the limited use that I've done over the week that I've had it. But cutting through cardboard, it zips right through. Cutting through zip ties, it was no problem. Opening up packages, because we have this kind of Wharncliffe or sheepsfoot or modified sheepsfoot Wharncliffe thing, whatever you want to call it. It's very easy to get the tip down into things like tape and just drag across. So for people who live lives similar to what I do, I feel like this blade profile and this blade grind are fantastic. They're a great choice. They work really well. I haven't found on this blade that because of this profile, I'm feeling any lack of a tip. You've still got plenty of tip to puncture through things. And yeah, it's just done really, really well. The black wash has held up really nice, even going through zip ties and cardboard and stuff. Any little blemishes that I've noticed on it have just wiped right off, which is good to see, because black wash is essentially DLC that then gets tumbled, and DLC should be very hard and robust and stand up to use. And so it has so far. Granted, this is a week of use on a prototype. I'm the first person to have gotten this prototype to borrow and review. So it will be going to a few other people after. It may be worth checking in on their videos as they come up and seeing if anybody has had any issues that I haven't had, just because it's now gone through a few hands. But yeah, I mean, in cutting performance, I've been very happy. So where does that leave me? Basically, I'm super excited about this knife. Granted, Kevin, Left EDC, is a close friend of mine. I've been friends with Kevin now for a couple of years, and we talk all the time. Colin, who is Kevin's business partner within Divo, it's the two of them partnered up. Colin is awesome. I didn't really get to know him until Blade Show. We had booths next to each other, or tables, not booths. And I spent like 3 days in a row, basically, standing next to Colin for an entire day. And he's a really cool dude. I might like him more than Kevin. He's great. He's just a really nice guy. Super intelligent, really smart. He has a number of designs that he's licensed out that are really, really cool. And so I love seeing their partnership and the different things that they do well and kind of complement each other. So I like them both. I want their business to succeed. I can't remove that from myself. But just like with the stout, I intend to put my money where my mouth is with this knife. I didn't have to order 2 stouts. I probably would have ordered 1 because Kevin is a buddy and now Colin is a buddy. But I didn't need to order 2. I did because I actually like the knife. Will I keep both forever? I don't know. I may end up selling one because one of them I definitely prefer to the other, but I like them both, and it's a cool knife that to me was worth spending my own money on. With the Buzz, I think I'm going to find that even easier to do than with the Stout. I've also held the Growler. The Growler is cool. It's a little more budget friendly. I will get one of those, but that'll probably only get one. Like if I get another one, it'll be to give as a gift to somebody. This I'll probably order 2 of because I'm excited enough about the model. It's going to be a little bit more expensive than the Stout was, not by leaps and bounds, but it also feels a little higher quality to me than the Stout does. It feels like it kind of demands a little bit of a higher price point, and it's refined. It feels like an evolution of the way that they're moving forward as a brand. I like the design, I like the look of it, the fit and finish, the way it all comes together. It's just a really cool knife that to me is something that amidst the knives in my collection will make it in pocket if I own one, and I can say that pretty confidently after spending a week with it and enjoying it as much as I have. So let me make sure I didn't miss any of the notes. So the clip spacing I talked about. A big one. I don't know why I didn't mention this. I should have in Ergos, or Action, I guess, but the lock bar access, they're planning to increase that a little bit. I assume what they're going to do there, don't hold me to this because I'm not the designer, is just remove a little cut from in here so that it's easier to get to that lock bar because there's some material removed leading up to it. I assume that's what's going to happen. I'll say I think that'll make it better, not worse, but it's not something that particularly bothered me. I don't find myself struggling to get to this lock bar. Anyways, so lock bar access is being increased. A deeper hollow grind, like on the satin versions. That's interesting. I thought for some reason this one was the deeper hollow. Maybe I read that wrong. So if the deeper hollow, if it's getting even deeper than this, then cool. That's going to get even slicier. I just moved the note like a chump. All right, here, hold on. And we're back. They're going to... the grind on the other version is going to become more like this one. This one got the correct grind. Now I'm confused though, because it's deeper hollow like on the satin versions, correct grind like on the black wash versions. I don't know what Kevin's trying to say there. I like this grind a lot. Maybe he's talking about the plunge grind. They're going to add multiple color variations. So the way that these knives ship to them, it was an all blacked out one and then a like stonewashed titanium with either stonewash or satin blade. They're going to do flip-flops of those, so it's going to look like this as well, and you'll have one with a black handle and a satin blade. So a couple of additional versions. All of the hardware is going to become T8. It looks like right now it's the clip screw that's a T6, so they're all going to be T8. I like that. They're adding packaging and hardware and stuff, like extra hardware, and they're making sure that the plunge grind is like it is on this one. A little more weight relief if possible. I talked about that. They're going to see if they can do a heavier black wash. So it sounds to me like they're going to rough it up a little more than this. This does look, honestly, like it's hardly been stonewashed after being DLC'd. So that makes sense. And then they potentially would do a different blade finish on top of all that. I feel like this note probably wasn't the best one for me to read aloud on camera. But those are the changes that they're playing with internally for this knife. If this knife stayed exactly the way it is here, I'd order one just like this. And if there's multiple variations, I'll order 2. It's a really cool knife. I believe they're launching it at about $300. I'm almost positive that's the price point they're going to be at, and October 15th is the date that I believe the pre-order is going to begin on. What I'll do is below this video in the description, I will link to their website and to their Instagram so you can see their updates and you can know when they're going to do it. That way you're getting it straight from the source and not from me. But check them out. Follow them on Instagram if you haven't already. Cool dudes designing cool knives, and this one's a winner. I really do like this knife a lot, and it feels unique but not weird, and that's hard to do in this age of knife design because it's such a saturated space, and it's really come together well here. I like this knife. One thing I'll mention as well, because some people are going to ask, this Divo Knives branded pivot, I believe, I'm almost positive that the knife is going to come with a non-branded pivot that you can swap out easily, because some people don't like having the branded pivot. To me, honestly, on their knives, it doesn't bother me. Maybe it's because I like the brand and I don't think that their logo looks weird or trashy, but some people prefer to have it look totally sterile, and I get that. And so that'll be an option in the package when you buy the knife. Will come a swappable pivot screw so that you can make it just sterile if you want to. Anyway, thanks for checking it out, guys. Again, I will link to them down below so you can check out all their stuff. And yeah, I appreciate you for watching. This is an exciting one. I'll be pre-ordering. You can hold me to that. And we'll see you guys on the next one.